Hey, do people ask about Fast and the Furious a lot when they come here?
Oh, every day.
Every day?
Every day. Not one day do I not hear that.
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam and today we have the 2020 Toyota Supra. Because I have this car for a few days, I thought we'd do something a little bit differently. I am going to make this a two-part video. The second part will be the version of the full review on the car. First part, we're gonna do something a little bit differently today, but we have an hour drive ahead of us to the destination. Let's get inside and I'll explain what we're doing. As I have this car for a few extra days, I thought we'd look into what makes this car so iconic today. And without a doubt, a major contributor is the original Fast and the Furious movie. If you remember the iconic scene from the original Fast and the Furious film, when Vin Diesel and Paul Walker get into the orange Mark IV Supra for the very first time to test drive it since the build was complete, they take it to PCH for the test drive. We are on PCH right now. While on PCH, they bump into a Ferrari at a red light. The driver disrespects Paul Walker. Vin Diesel tells Paul Walker to smoke him. They race, and indeed the Supra does smoke the Ferrari. At the end of the scene, they pull into this very cool restaurant called Neptunes Net, which is right along the beach on PCH. We are about 40 minutes away from Neptunes Net, and I thought it would be a fun video if I drive the brand new Toyota Supra to Neptunes Net. I'll talk a little bit about the film, I'll talk about Paul Walker and what his death meant to the car community, but I won't talk much about the Supra. I will leave that for the next video, which will be the full review. Let's start off by talking a little bit about the man himself, Paul Walker. Of course, the most tragic side of his death was that he left a family behind. But having never met him, I can only go off of my perspective of how I felt as a car enthusiast when he died. I will get into the circumstances of his death a little bit later in the video because I do want to touch on that. Again, having never met him, I can only go off of the documentaries I've watched about his life, what I've read about him, and what I see in the car community from people who have met him personally and had exchanges with him. From every account that I can understand, Paul Walker was genuinely a great guy. That is a major loss that we lose someone who was deeply involved in charities. He was just an outdoorsman. He loved to be with family. He had a big family growing up. Truly enjoyed what he did. Many of you knew of Paul Walker from his other movie, this surfing movie that he did prior to Fast and the Furious. That's where all the girls fell in love with him. I hadn't heard of him until Fast and the Furious came out, so that's when I first learned of him. Now I know when Fast and the Furious came out, all the car people, we all had a laugh. I mean, they had neon lights and scissor doors on old Hondas. It was comical, it was funny, but we all also appreciated that somebody made a movie that we can all get behind and sort of have a great time watching. Laugh, be interested, and love the character dynamic, and it's about cars. Very rarely are movies made like this where they really get the car people behind them. Gone in 60 Seconds was one, Fast and the Furious is another, and there's a whole lot in the old movies, Bullet and some other ones that were fun to watch, but not as much directly a car movie like this one was. And I watched a lot of these behind the scenes things of the Fast and the Furious and the making of it. Paul Walker would walk by and tell the producers and tell all the set designers, like, look, this turbo, that's way too big of a turbo for that small engine. It's gonna blow the engine. That's unrealistic. Or this doesn't belong here because that's just not the way the factory would have done it. He knew about cars. He was a true car guy. So he fit into the role so perfectly. And sadly, I believe he was only 40 years old when he died, so let's talk a little bit about the event that led to his death. So Paul Walker was at his company that he owned, and outside they were having a car meet or some kind of car charity group. And at the end of the event, his close friend, Roger Rodas, who is a professional race car driver, owns more than 50 cars, had just purchased his dream car, which is the Porsche Carerra GT. The iconic car, everyone knows about it, everyone knows how dangerous this car is. He came by to show Paul Walker the car. They went for a quick spin. Once they got out of sight, everyone heard a loud explosion and they ran over and the car was in flames against a tree. Both Paul Walker and Roger Rodas died on the site. Now, after multiple lawsuits against Porsche and against the Rodas family, there's still no real explanation of what happened, but there are two major theories, okay? The first theory people have of what happened that day goes back to what Porsche has said about the car itself. Prior to it being released, I believe in 2005, Porsche sent out a memo saying to the buyers of this car, they literally said, this is as close to a race car as it gets, and as such, it has the disadvantages of a race car. Now, I have some personal insight into this car. One of my instructors when I was in school for car design was the original designer of the Porsche Carerra GT. He told me that they basically went in, they developed a race car that was going to be for a racing circuit series, and at the end the project was canceled, it was done, but they had this fully developed race car engine that they didn't know what to do with. They already spent so much time on research and development. They said, you know what, let's now build a car around it. The car is totally form follows function. The engine is the heart of the car. It's a true race car engine. Now, going back to the limitations that they said the Carerra GT has, an example would be how your car might handle a pothole on the road is not how a race car that's built for the road would handle a pothole on the road. Okay, the car, the suspension is extra stiff, the tires are a certain way, so these cars are extremely dangerous, truly require trained driving, which Roger Rodas was, again, as I said, a professional race car driver. So I guess the theory goes that there were reflectors on the road where they were driving down, and that's probably what they hit, and the car didn't react well to it and sent them into a tree. There is a second theory, and this is the one I'm behind. A lot of people don't pay too much attention to the age of the tires on their car. In this particular Carerra GT, it still had the factory tires. The car was 9 years old, so the tires were 9 years old. We are told never to drive cars that have tires on them that are 5 years or older. Not one of the tires should ever be 5 years or older. And I'm going to show you in a minute how to check the date of your tire. But the car they were in had the original tires. Now, the reason that you can't have tires on your car that are older than 5 years is because there's a certain compound around the tire that keeps you from sliding around, keeps you safe in the rain. That basically expires after 5 years unless you keep the car in the most optimal temperature controlled room. To check the age of your tires, walk up to the tire and look for the big DOT, all in capital letters. Following that will be a series of numbers. Look for the last 4 numbers that are individually divided. The first 2 numbers there will tell you the week that the tire was produced. The second 2 numbers will tell you the year that the tires were produced. So in this case, this tire was made in the 46th week of 2019. And again, as I mentioned, the tires on their Carerra GT were 9 years old. I believe that the tire blew and that's how they went off the road and into the tree. That has not been proven. This is just my theory. And here we are pulling into Neptunes Net. This is in Ventura County now. Can I have the grilled cheese?
On sourdough or wheat?
Sourdough, please. And French fries with that. Hey, do people ask about Fast and the Furious a lot when they come here?
Oh, every day.
Every day?
Every day. Not one day do I not hear that.
When Paul Walker died, they were having a tribute to him at the location where the crash happened. And at the time, I had my 2006 GTO. I loved that car, and my brother and I took that. We went, there was an amazing rally, huge support. You just saw how much of the car community came out in support of this guy who just put us on the map in a sense of building something, building a franchise that you see what it's become now. And it all started with this cool story about cars that we can all relate to.
Grilled cheese on sourdough?
That's right.
Perfect. Bunch
Thank
of ketchup in there, napkin, salt and pepper, my man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, brother.
Thanks. When Paul Walker and Vin Diesel came to this restaurant in the movie, they got shrimp. I don't like shrimp, so we're gonna do grilled cheese. I know it's not that exciting. All right, guys, that is gonna wrap up yet another video. I hope you enjoyed it. We did things a little bit differently. I think this was a story I kind of wanted to tell, and with this car, it was the perfect time and the perfect place to do it. I'm gonna eat my grilled cheese now. Next week, we will absolutely have the review on this car. You have to see it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and until then, I'll see you soon.